Talk to yourself, but be nice. We all talk to ourselves, and when we keep telling ourselves something, we eventually begin to believe it. This is such a fundamental truth that psychologists have come up with a clinical term for it: self-talk. The concept has proved particularly useful in the field of sports psychology, and numerous studies have shown time and again that the differences between negative self-talk and positive self-talk have everything to do with how athletes perform. Negative self-talk can naturally arise when encountering obstacles, as we all know, and professional athletes are no exception to this rule. But learning how to transform these harsh thoughts into self-encouragement and positive self-talk is what makes the best athletes succeed. In one sports medicine study, Daniel Gould, Kenneth Hodge, Kirsten Peterson, and John Giannini demonstrated how winning coaches prepared their athletes for competition by modeling self-confidence and teaching athletes to convert detrimental self-criticism into empowering self-belief. In another important study, Dr. Joan A. Finn showed how positive self-talk reduces anxiety, boosts confidence, and increases performance. Thoughts such as, "I'm no good at that," "I have nothing to offer," "It's too hard, I can't do it," and "If I try it, I'll look ridiculous," become true when you play them over and over in your head in a non-stop loop. Others pick up on and believe what you project and believe about yourself. To increase your authentic likability and forge successful connections, harnessing positive self-talk is key, and the only one who can do that is you. Live the law. How nice are you to you? What is your inner voice saying to you? To find out, track it for a week, marking down every self-thought you can. How many times did you give yourself credit for something and mentally pat yourself on the back? For each instance, give yourself a point. How many times did you discourage or gang up on yourself? For each of those cases, subtract a point. If a thought started off as negative, but you were able to convert it into something positive, give yourself 2 points. At the end of the week, tally your points. Did you end the week in the positive column? Can you increase your score next week? Determine whether or not you are happy with the results. If not, get proactive about changing your perceptions and embracing your good. Be nice. Here are some ideas that can help you. Keep a success file. Every time someone says something nice about you, compliments your work, or sends an email of appreciation, write it down or print it out and put it in a folder. You may even send yourself a quick email when you remember something of which you're particularly proud. It is all too easy to forget your positive accomplishments when you're worried instead about what's wrong. Pull out the file on a regular basis and leaf through your successes to remind yourself of the good you achieve. Revisit your accomplishments. A friend of mine who is extremely successful and appears outwardly confident is in fact impacted easily by small criticisms and mistakes. When she feels as if she's getting too down on herself, she closes her office door, pulls out her journal, and writes down everything she knows she is good at, resetting her self-talk to the positive thoughts that eventually get her where she wants and needs to be. Change your tune. I have always wanted to write a book. For years I composed outlines and came up with catchy titles, but the projects never went any further than that. In my head, I had all sorts of reasons why my book writing dream couldn't come true. You don't have enough to say. It's just too hard. You don't know how. No one will buy it. I have always been self-confident, yet that didn't stop these thoughts from permeating my mind. The results of my negative self-talk? For years, I took no action at all. To get to the place where I could tackle the task, to the place where you could be sitting there, reading this text, I had to change my self-talk. It was a process of continually reminding myself that what I said to myself was entirely up to me. Along the way, I learned that changing my self-talk from negative to positive was not a Pollyanna-ish look in the mirror and do your daily affirmations endeavor. It was a series of actionable steps that helped me reprogram my perceptions and my sense of self-ability so that I had the courage to sit down at my desk each day and face the scary blank page, regardless of the fears welling up inside me. Of course, self-doubts continued to creep in, and they still do. That is only natural. But I was able to take steps to manage my negative self-talk and the influence it had over me, which freed me to accomplish something difficult that I'd long set out to do. Similarly, Dave, my former student, had been doggedly struggling for a long while to improve his presentations performance. Once he learned to listen to the inner voices that were telling him he could speak effectively in front of a crowd, and stopped paying as much attention to the voices telling him he couldn't do it, he was able to wow the client, impress his boss, and most important, recognize his own professional growth. He wrote to me, "While I was presenting, I was able to hold an image in my head of myself as calm and confident, and that made all the difference. Now that you've gone through the exercise, lived the law, how nice are you to you, and you have a handle on the content of your negative self-messages, you can start developing the positive messages that will replace them. I've learned that 3 techniques are particularly useful in this process. 1. Be your own best friend. 2. Frame a positive picture. 3. Celebrate the small stuff. Be your own best friend. Think back to a time when you've had a cycle of negative self-thoughts running through your head, and then imagine your best friend feeling that way about himself and expressing those thoughts to you. What would you do? You would immediately start listing all your friend's wonderful qualities, so that your friend's negative self-talk could be converted from mean and detrimental to helpful and productive. Do this for yourself, too. Be your own best friend. We all have that bully who appears on our shoulders, whispering nasty self-thoughts into our ears. On the opposite shoulder sits the cheerleader, the one who believes in our worth and reminds us of our successes, strength, and goals. The next time the bully starts in on a rant, stop it in its tracks, think about what you want to hear instead, and kick the cheerleader into gear. Sandy's bully was yammering, "You are unqualified, inexperienced, and you will never get a job." With effort, she learned to counter the bully with a cheerleader who reminded her, "You have so many skills you've gained from life experience. You are responsible, organized, and strategic in your decisions. An employer would be lucky to have you." Over time, the process gets easier. As you grow more aware of the negative self-thoughts rising up, you'll catch them earlier, pinpoint their alternatives, and become better at changing them into positive self-perceptions with powerful results. Frame a positive picture. An important corollary to countering the negative self-talk is learning how to reframe it from bad to good. The glass is either half empty or half full, and remember that whatever your perspective, it is entirely your choice. When you frame your actions around what you fear and what you think you can't do, those are the results you'll achieve. Reframing thoughts shifts your perspective from expected doom to intended success, impacting the outcomes of your decisions and actions. Embrace your possibilities, not your potential failures. You get what you expect. The process of reframing has 2 aspects, internal and external. Internal framing is similar to visualization, in that you picture what you want, and then mentally rehearse or practice how it might unfold. You coach yourself to think positively about your skill set, your strengths, a task you need to do. Positive thinking leads to positive outcomes. With external framing, you take your internally framed thoughts and put words to them, sharing them with others to give them validity and weight. At one point, I had a colleague named Yale who was intent on making partner at her firm, even though she'd been there for only 8 years, and the normal partner track was 13 years. Instead of giving in to the internal chorus of, "Don't be ridiculous, you'll never make partner this soon, don't waste your time," Yale put her firm belief in her abilities in the front of her mind and flat out went for it. She wasn't obnoxious or overbearing about pursuing her goal. She was consistent, determined, and assured. She didn't make partner that first year, but she did in the second, becoming the only person in more than a decade to make partner in 10 years. She had internally framed her self-thoughts and actions, and then externally framed them, keeping at it until the 2 were perfectly aligned.